Hard work.
Hard work.
Dedication.
Dedication.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Dedication.
Dedication.
I didn't never tell y'all this little story, guys, about David and Goliath. The big old giant and little old David. That big old giant, it was the hurricane. The one that was always beating up on everybody because they was good and big, right? But it was this little old guy named David, that's y'all. Little old bitty guy, had plenty of courage. He believed in himself. And what David did, he got a little old rock, a smooth rock. This your rock, that helmet. And he ran into that big old giant and boom!
It's been known for a long time that banging your head over and over and over and over again can be a bad thing.
Why are you bashing your head into a 300-pound lineman? Your brain is sponge cake floating in a bone bucket. Stop now while you don't have to wear a diaper.
Members of the committee, this Friday night, over 1 million kids will take to the football field. 1 in 8 boys in America. I'm certain that radical measures are needed for football to continue safely.
So with a list of crippled retired players, a shortened life expectancy, Chris, how real is this problem?
When we got this former NFL player's brain, we saw something very striking.
It's an alarming report linking football and dementia.
Now I'm starting to see players who are younger than me who are having neurological issues, and these players are calling me.
In fact, many ex-players have problems. Girls having higher rates of concussions than boys.
Pee-wee hockey today is not the pee-wee hockey we played when we were kids.
The level of violence would give a reasonable person pause.
You're talking to the athletes about donating their brain.
5 years of headaches and depression and short-term memory problems and couldn't go back to work.
Are you advocating, Mr. Lewinsky, that people not play football?
This is a public health issue. Yes, there are some things happening at the professional level, but what if similar things are happening for kids?
Personally, if I had a 6-year-old out there playing football, I would be freaked out, and I think rightly so. Because you're playing Russian roulette with their future. I didn't ever want to go to Harvard and just play football. I had a real passion for football, and I knew I had a commitment to the team. But, I knew I had an opportunity to get the best education in the world. And so I never wanted to let my academics suffer. I was a defensive tackle. I lined up over the guards, and every play, a 280-pound guy trying to knock me on my butt.
There is a sack of a quarterback, and that is Chris Nowinski.
I was just colliding on every play, trying to control the guy in front of me and control the gap. I loved the violence of it. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world when you could do a pass rush and catch him under the chin. It's the closest thing to being a warrior without actually having to go to war. You have your own tribe. I never thought about an NFL career. So I graduated, and I was like, do I go sit in a cubicle and rent my brain to big companies? Or do I go try to have a little fun? WWE announced they were starting Tough Enough, the reality show. 13 kids live in a house, 2 of them win contracts, and 1 person's kicked off every week. So I decided to send in a tape. 6'5", 265, with 10% body fat. I trained at Killer Kowalski School, and actually had my first match the other night. Check it out. I wanted to make it WWE, and this was going to be the fast track. And I got selected.
I am willing to do what it takes to be one of the elite wrestlers down the line.
Hold still, please.
Reality shows have to have good guys and bad guys.
Got to make sure that we make everybody understand that he went to Harvard. See the little Harvard boxer shorts there?
So the producer started asking the cast to refer to me as Chris Harvard.
There we go.
And as soon as that happened, I knew that I would never have a chance to be a sympathetic character with people.
Harvard what? Harvard suck. And you are Yale's what? Yale's bitch. Number one. Let's go, louder. Yale's number one. Come on, let me
The character is based on the silver spoon, rich, snobby kids, and it worked for me. And so I was on Monday Night Raw 18 months after my first day in the ring. And what was most amusing was the show was done so well that even the wrestlers in WWE thought I was that guy. And so everyone hated me in the locker room.
You people should be grateful to have someone of my intelligence in your presence.
Exactly. Has anything to do with Harvard. It's an honor.
But I understand why you people can't relate to a guy like me, because after all, I am a Harvard graduate.
Physically, it was the hardest thing I ever did. Far harder than football.
Now, where's Nowinski going? This is something we don't normally see.
And that's the reason why.
I don't think anybody watching on television can quite appreciate how dangerous it really is. The margin of error is incredibly small. So if any timing or anyone's positioning is off by inches, someone's going to get hurt.
That's something you can't study for. A ladder match.
And I remember the tag team match in June of 2003. I hit the ground, and I forgot where we were. I forgot what we were doing in the ring. I forgot the storyline. I forgot what was coming next. So I remember they kept pinning me, and I couldn't remember if this was the one I was supposed to stay down on for the 3 count or one that I kick out of. My head was killing me. And, you know, I kind of went to a cold, dark place inside the Civic Center. I remember being in just my shorts and my boots, laying on a cold concrete ground, trying to make the throbbing go away. So then I went home, and then I was like, well, I gotta go to the gym every day because I gotta stay in shape. So I'd go to the gym, and I'd get nauseous after 10 minutes. In my mind, when I would only last 10 minutes and then get sick, I thought, that's not a sign I should not go to the gym. That's a sign that my goal tomorrow should be to last 15 minutes. And it was just, you know, knowing what I know now, that was really stupid. I kept thinking I'm gonna get better tomorrow. And after 12 months of constant headaches and sleepwalking and memory problems, I just never got better. And so that was the last time I ever got near a ring. A friend said there's a guy who's considered a concussion guru that's not too far from your place. Maybe you should go see him.
Well, my history goes back a bit. In 1986, I wrote the first return to play guidelines for people after a concussion.
I walked into Dr. Canty's office thinking I had never had a concussion in my life. He said, okay, well, how many times have you been hit in the head and you've seen stars or you got dizzy?
Or the sky changes color, or not being able to remember the play, or being stunned.
That's Chris Nowinski.
This is a tough situation.
Or you got double vision, or you were nauseous, or you get blacked out. And I was like, all the time? It's all the time. Why? And he goes, well, those are actually concussions as well. I just couldn't believe that I had been gladly exposing myself to repetitive concussions for 19 years and had never had this conversation before about what a concussion was.
It's called concussion or mild traumatic brain injury, but there's nothing mild about it. It's only mild compared to severe brain injury where somebody's in a hospital bed with tubes and everything for days or months. The brain is elastic. It's like a jello mold, and it wiggles around. In a concussion, your brain changes shape very quickly. A really sensitive area of the brain is the white matter, where all these nerve fibers travel from one part of your brain to another, allowing your brain to communicate. In a concussion, these axons get quickly stretched. And that causes injury in a very unique way. If I kind of make a cylinder and I pull it apart, it just gets thinner and thinner. The same material, if I apply this very dynamic stretch, it's how fast I stretched it and it broke. And that rapid stretch doesn't break these nerve fibers, but it can damage parts of those nerve fibers. So they're like a garden hose, and inside are railroad tracks called microtubules that transport material back and forth throughout the axon. And if you break the railroad tracks, all transport stops. It's like the train car just fell off the tracks there, and everything can pile up. For example, these very sticky, glommy tau proteins. And over even more time, the rest break because of a chemical destruction of those microtubules. If you disconnect these axons, they're gone forever. You can function without quite a few axons at a certain point, but you're at a disadvantage.
I believe Coach Murphy is on record saying I was the best athlete of our class.
Some debated that.
You don't deny it. He has said that.
There's some debated that.
I'm just saying.
Isaiah Kazavinsky was my teammate at college. We were roommates and shared a bunk bed. You know, basically my best friend. And he went on to play 8 years in the NFL.
Closing in on me.
And he was a guy who had a lot of concussions.
Are you okay? I thought the WWE toughened you up a little.
That was 8 years ago.
And when I started having these problems, I started talking to him about it. He was like, I don't want to hear about it. You know, I have to go down there and on special teams and blow up wedges every week. That's my job. I'm getting dinged all the time, and I can't be thinking about the long-term consequences.
Good job. Thanks. Let's go.
Yeah, so the first concussion was, I think it was my second or third game with the Rams, running down on a kickoff, just absolutely amped up. Just trying to be a kamikaze. It was the one hit in my entire life I've never seen coming. And I remember looking up at the scoreboard and seeing half of it just disappear. I remember getting up and trying to walk and realizing I was walking to the wrong sideline and feeling absolute embarrassment. I remember that one thing that scared me was then holding up a smelling salt and putting it right in my nose, took a huge whiff. Nothing. Put two of them under there, took two more huge whiffs, nothing. 20 minutes go by. Some of the vision's bad. It wasn't perfect. And I remember the doctors coming back to me and said, are you ready to go back in the game? And I said yes. I went back in and felt like crap the whole week after that. I remember wanting the team doctor to step in to say he can't play. There's no way he's playing. And it never happened. Kickoff, I had played special teams. Already had a 4-year head start, full speed. Everything opened up. It was just me and the ball carrier. And you have this split-second decision. What are you gonna do? I remember coming to the whole side of my body, my face, all the way down to my arms and my legs, like just absolutely numb.
A linebacker in the NFL is like a soda can, you drink up and just chug.
When you would read the big studies on how many concussions were happening in a sport like football, they would sample 20,000 athletes and they would say, well, 5% had concussions. And that was assumed to be factual. But football players don't speak up when they have these symptoms. So I knew that number was wrong, but I didn't know how wrong it was. And so I dug around and found 6 other studies who had actually surveyed the players directly and taken the word concussion out of the question and found that it wasn't 5% of people getting concussions, it was 50%. And so you did the quick math on that. You know, 50% of football players have symptoms after a hit to the head, and each one's supposed to sit out a certain period of time. You realize that football is virtually unsustainable. because if you diagnose every concussion, you have so many people on the sideline, you can barely play the game. And that's what helped me realize that, well, either we have to change the terms of the argument or we have to stop playing the game, or we have to find a solution. In 2004, I started writing furiously, compiling the data with my story and other story into Headgames. The goal being, if you read this book, you won't throw away your career like I did. Then I realized I have no idea how you get a book published.
I saw the manuscript. I still remember my reaction. It wasn't the main narrative. It was the footnotes that blew me away. I mean, this guy had really done his work.
So the book came out in November of 2006. In it, I wrote a chapter about the brains of two former NFL players, Terry Long and Mike Webster, who died young, and they were diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
The game of football in the National Football League is not at all like a lot of people perceive it. It's not a game. I think it's a war myself.
When Mike Webster died in 2002, his body ended up on the table of a coroner whose name was Bennett Amalu, a neuropathologist. And he said, I wonder if this football player, because these guys get their heads banged around a lot, I wonder if he has any of the brain damage associated with boxers. So just on a hunch, he did the stains of the brain tissue that to that point had not been done on any football player, and lo and behold, it came out positive. Wow, it's not just boxers who get this.
In the 1920s, lay people and sports writers called boxers who had been in the ring slug nutty and punch drunk, goofy, and they also called it dementia pugilistica. That gave it a more medical term. Somehow along the lines, people started talking about chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and that was the name that sort of stuck. When you're looking at this disease, I think one of the most amazing things is how extraordinarily dense the pathology is. It's like pathology on steroids. In a normal brain, there would be absolutely no brown visible whatsoever. Everything would look this light cream color, but you can see that there's tremendous abnormalities throughout the gray matter. Some places it's extremely dense. And then look at it under the microscope, and I have it here. You can see tremendous loss of nerve cells. The remaining cells are scarred and filled with this abnormal tau protein, which disturbs the cell and causes it to malfunction, and eventually it dies. So we'll cut into the brain. Really small hippocampus now. That's the memory component. He's got shrinkage of that part of the brain. This disease has these very difficult symptoms. It destroys sort of your personality in a way that observers think, are they just having a midlife crisis? Are they having sort of psychological or an adjustment reaction? But actually, it's structural brain disease.
By this time, it's causing some ripples in the NFL, but nothing in the popular press, and nothing certainly in the popular consciousness.
You look for a disease that people thought was a 1 in a million shot. And the first 2 football players tested to have it. You would think people would talk about it, but it wasn't news anywhere.
Toward Christmas of 2006, the phone rings. It's Chris Nowinski saying, I have something that's gonna probably be pretty big, and I'm not sure what to do with it, and you're the only one who ever took me seriously. And it was the Andre Waters suicide.
Andre Waters committed suicide November 20th, 2006. And he was a coach, and he was working, and it wasn't money problems, and it seemed kind of bizarre.
Andre Waters was known as one of the hardest hitting defensive backs of his generation, playing in the mid to late 80s through the early 90s. And one of the things that Chris Nowinski did when he learned of the suicide was to say, gee, I wonder if he had a significant history of head trauma.
You know when you made a perfect hit, when you hit a guy grunt, especially running back, and then he come running through the hole again, he sees you. I like to hit things. I can get all my frustration out on the field.
And I was shocked to find that he was quoted in the newspaper saying he stopped counting his concussions at 15, and he would just grab smelling salts and keep playing.
When Chris had the hunch that Andre Waters might have had CTE, he called up Bennett Amalo and said, if I can get some brain tissue for you to examine, would you do it? The way I originally crafted that story, I thought it was just going to be Chris having to convince the family to donate the brain. And the Times editors, to their credit, said, hey, wait a minute, there's news here.
A former National Football League player kills himself with a gunshot wound, and a researcher links the damage in his brain to football. That's all that needed to be said, and I feel like, that was what elevated it to the front page.
The Andre Waters story ran during the playoffs. I don't remember it mattering that much because there were games to be played.
The reaction to Alan's article was denial. It was shockingly negative. I wasn't too surprised because in Headgames, I had dissected how the NFL had kept this issue hidden from the public view. They'd spent a lot of money and a lot of time trying to convince the world that concussions don't have any negative consequences.
What football began to appreciate in the late 70s and 80s was how guys like Roger Staubach, Steve Young, Troy Aikman appeared to be having more and more problems with concussions. They were missing time. These very valuable commodities were not playing. Gee, I wonder if we can figure out how to keep them on the field. So in 1994, Paul Tagliabue formed a committee called the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee. And it allowed the league to say, look, we have this committee of doctors. They are independent, they claimed, although many of them were on the payroll of NFL teams. Nonetheless, it's being chaired by the medical director of the league. Nonetheless, they're independent. They began to assess what the effects of concussion were in NFL players. And so by the 5th, 6th, 7th of what became a 13-paper series, they began making statements about how everything was hunky-dory in the NFL, how these players were not suffering from any problems. Their data showed that there are no cognitive effects in these players. The problem was, if you looked very carefully at the language that they were using, they were making statements that you can't make.
If the oldest guy that you study is 35, you can't possibly conclude that concussions don't have long-term consequences. If somebody actually did have concussion problems and had to retire, they would drop out of the study. And so they wouldn't be followed up on.
They also had some mathematical errors that were pretty easy to, I like to think, a sports writer found them, okay?
Well, I think there was more than bad science. I honestly think there was a point of view of trying to be protective of the National Football League.
In most other sports, the chance of injury is incidental. In football, the chance of injury and long-term serious effects is fundamental. And no honest person can watch this sport and not acknowledge that.
It's just like a boxer. If you box so many years and keep getting hit in the head, sooner or later, something is going to happen to the brain.
Gene Atkins is a former NFL player who played the strong safety for the New Orleans Saints and Miami Dolphins. Gene was known as a big hitter, was diagnosed with at least a couple concussions, although he remembers many more. He talked about times where he would see double and grab a guy's jersey to find his way to the huddle and wait for it to clear up. He was tough. He didn't want to ever come out. When the Andre Waters story went public, the ex-wife of Gene Atkins sent me an email saying, Gene is everything that I read about Andre Waters, the memory problems, the impulse control issues. He was in a very dark place. The only difference is he's survived multiple suicide attempts.
I've been there. I understand how I feel to want to take your life. And it's a scary feeling because every day I wake up is a challenge for me. I'm just a mess right now.
When I saw an opportunity to intervene, I was able to raise some money to fly Gene up along with his current wife to see Dr. Cantu, who spent hours evaluating him.
978-432-13 Those digits, tell me what they are.
Repeat them.
978432.
978.
432.
432.
Gene, repeat the months of the year between January
Let's find something else.
and June. Pardon me?
Let's just pick something else to do, because I can't do it.
Try.
January, May, April.
Well, I would say Gene Atkins is certainly not alone.
Can you do it sequentially, like January, February, March, April?
There's a lot of people that are in the prime of their lives, but their brain has not stayed with them.
June.
What's before June?
July.
Here's another data point. Linemen sustain 60% of their impacts in practice, 54% tight ends, 52 receivers, 31% quarterbacks. Impact accelerations of the head also varied. In response to the huge activity on this issue in 2007, the Sports Legacy Institute was founded. Dr. Cantu and I realized that there needed to be work on education and policy driven off of the research to keep these athletes safer. I mean, so then maybe that's part of the idea too, is just maybe put the stake in the ground, get people talking about it, and then see what comes of it. Yeah. And then, I want to put together a committee of coaches for a couple-day session. When Sports Legacy Institute and Boston University School of Medicine partnered, we created the Center for the Study of Traumatic Encephalopathy. And now Dr. Stern heads the clinical research, Dr. McKee heads the pathological research and basic sciences, Dr. Cantu is our concussion expert, and then my role is to facilitate the research.
I'm sorry, who's this?
This is Chris Nowinski from Boston University School of Medicine. And when an athlete passes away, I read about his passing today, and I'm really sorry to be calling. I know I'm the last person in the world you want to hear from. It's my job to call the family to see if the brain's available.
What we'd like to do during this call is to go over the results of Dr. McKee's examination of your husband's brain. But what I'd like to do is to start off by giving a summary, because we keep our information separate. So this will be the first time that Dr. McKee really hears the whole story. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you great.
Okay. You and your husband were high school sweethearts, so you've really grown up with
After Dr. McKee has completed her examination of the brain, we'll all get together on the phone with the family members.
He was a boxer starting at age 9 and was a champ. He was in around 98 bouts, and in the ring, only one knockout. For the last 3 years, he had been showing some problems with memory, attention, planning, and organization. In the last few months, he couldn't even hold a thought. His behavior became quite out of control. For example, the week before he died, he was responding to your 14-year-old son's wish for getting some help getting ready for a trip, and he then wound up trying to suffocate your son to teach him a lesson. He was seen psychiatrically, and then he decided to take his life in front of you by the gunshot wound with the kids right next door. This is a guy who was a great father and husband, and then became a different person.
Then it goes to me and I say what I saw in the brain. It's incredibly hard because you feel so much for some of these families.
Well, as you know, we received the tissue from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and we did find in most of the pieces of cerebral cortex dense accumulations of that protein tau that we do see build up in the brains of individuals that have chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And I would say it was very substantial for an individual who died at the age of 40.
Is there anything that we could have done had we known?
No, we're so early in the study of this disease that we just don't have answers, what kind of treatment can be done.
Hopefully it gives you some amount of comfort knowing that your husband was really struggling with a structural disease and that he wasn't, just in the throes of some psychiatric disorder.
It does bring me great comfort, but it also brings me this guilt because I was so angry with him. It hurts me to think he was in so much pain.
Yeah.
I am so thankful. It gives Chris self-respect back. It's a real gift.
Anything we can do for you, we're here for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
In June of 2007, the league, in large measure because of the stories that we had been running, held a summit of all the medical professionals from every team, as well as some league officials, to discuss the state of the research. Just before this, a fourth player had been diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy. A lot of people thought, well, that's only 4 guys. You know, you can't make statements based on 4 guys. And I knew that you could, because this is something that does not happen in the general population. I got an interview with the commissioner during a break, and I recorded the conversation with his permission.
There's no record of a concussion. He may have had a concussion. He played
Swimming.
at least
He could have had a
riskiest position. He could have had
a concussion swimming?
My brother had a concussion swimming. He hit his head outside the pool. Come on, Alan. It does happen. A concussion happens in a variety of different activities.
4 out of 4. Are you suggesting that all 4 men sustained their damage in fields other than football?
Stop it right there for a second. So what do you, take us back a little bit, what are you thinking in the middle of this conversation?
I'm scared out of my mind. Do you really want to know? I'm scared out of my mind. I'm standing there talking to the commissioner of the National Football League, basically dumping at his feet a problem that I knew in my bones was going to be immense for him. And in a way, I was becoming the math teacher that I had always planned on being. All I wanted to do was get him to understand the probabilities at work here, that it wasn't just me being a pain in the ass. It was the fact that when you're 4 out of 4 for a 1,000,000 to 1 shot, something's up. So at the end of 2009, I get a call from a source of mine who has a document that he needs me to see. What is it? I can't tell you, but trust me. So we meet at a restaurant in New York, and he passes it over, and it's a study that the University of Michigan has done of retired NFL players, asking them all sorts of health-related questions. Do you have heart disease, arthritis, depression, kidney function? There's like 50 pages. And their finding was that the NFL players look like they're a pretty happy and healthy group. But if you looked at the bottom of page 37 or something, there was this one little section. And it talked about how they had asked, have you been diagnosed by a physician as having Alzheimer's disease or other memory-related disease? And there were the rates. From age 30 to 49, 1.9% had said yes. So it was 19 times that of the national population. Well, it hadn't become public yet. I don't know if it ever would have become public had it not been leaked to me. And that was the game changer.
There is a new report from the NFL. It's an alarming report linking football and dementia.
And other memory-related diseases. How much higher? 19 times.
19 times. 19 times more likely to have Alzheimer's disease or memory-related diseases than men who never played professional football.
And Congress, which had shown some interest in this subject before, was just waiting for something to act upon. This was what they were waiting for.
Commissioner Goodell, is there a link between playing professional football and contracting a brain-related injury such as dementia, Alzheimer's, depression, or CTE?
Chairman, the medical experts should be the one to be able to continue that debate. But our bottom line is we're not waiting for that debate to continue. We want to make sure our game is safe, and we're doing everything we possibly can to create information that we can share with our players. Is very important responsibility to set the right.
Well, you've testified to that.
Yes.
But I just asked you a simple question. What's the answer?
The answer is the medical experts who are no better than I would with respect to that.
Now, he's the commissioner of the league. He's not a scientist, and one could argue that he shouldn't necessarily know the answers to these things.
Our commitment to make sure we make the safest possible field for our.
Okay, I've heard it.
It sort of reminds me of the tobacco companies.
Linda Sanchez was not mincing words.
No link between smoking and.
She basically said, you have a health problem with your product, and you're covering it up. This is what she said. You are like the tobacco industry. And those words did not sit well with Roger Goodell.
No matter what kind of helmet you build, no matter what kind of equipment that you have, it is a dangerous sport. The only question is, are you going to pay for the injuries that they have received in helping you to be a multi-billion-dollar operation?
And he left those hearings knowing that he had a real problem. There was a problem, at least in perception, and probably in reality, and it was time for change. And every week, there was a new change in the NFL. Players were no longer allowed to go back into games after having sustained a concussion.
The definition of concussion has become much more conservative to include things like feeling dinged or a bit of confusion, seeing stars, dizzy or vertiginous, poor balance. All those things are signs of concussion.
Crackback block can't be to the head. You cannot hit a defenseless person in the act of catching the ball before they've secured it or throwing the ball. The wedge has been reduced from 4 men to 2 men because the person breaking the wedge was largely using his head to do it.
Maybe we can get away with losing these things because the rest of the game is still good enough that people won't really miss it that much. I don't know anybody who doesn't watch football anymore because there's no head slaps. Oh man, I love those head slaps. There's no head slaps anymore. That ain't football. Why don't we just put a skirt on them? And then you had the resignations of the 2 guys who were the heads of the committee who had been saying for so long, there's nothing to see, folks. Move along, nothing to see here.
Commissioner Goodell has spearheaded rules changes. They completely cleaned house with the previous mild traumatic brain injury committee. They have put in place a brand new head, neck, and spine committee that has university neurosurgery chairs as co-directors. It even put probably their biggest critic as a senior advisor to the group.
That would be you?
That would be me, yes.
Then I got a call from a reporter on a Sunday morning.
I pick up the phone at my house on a Sunday, and it's some CBS reporter who's asking,
how do you feel about the $1 million the NFL is going to give Boston University? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. The offer was made through the media. It would be hard to say that it wasn't partially designed as a PR stunt.
I'm still concerned that their concern is mostly defensive, to defend themselves against this rather than to protect the players.
The medical school recommended under no circumstances we accept any money from the NFL unless it was an unrestricted gift. They weren't telling us what to study or how to study it. They just said, here's $1 million, do with it what you will to advance research on CTE.
And then at the end of December, the league uttered for the first time that concussions have long-term effects in NFL athletes.
There's adequate information now on a number of autopsies that Ann McKee has done. There is no question that repetitive head trauma can cause permanent damage.
Safety first, safety first. Clear. Yeah.
Prior to last year, I had very little knowledge of concussions.
What, y'all gonna quit on me?
You know, there was some statistics that says that 85% of the concussions go undiagnosed because people look at them as just bumps or bruises to the head.
Come on, guys. I need for y'all to spread, knuckle down. It's all or never, baby. Look.
And one of our children get hurt out on the field, a concussion. Under no circumstances is he going back out to play. We let him know, hey, good job. Take it off for the day.
Eddie, watch my left. Hey, Chris. Hey, Sammy, watch 14, Jet. Get him! Get him! Get the ball! That's a block in the back. Get him! Get the ball! All right, that's all right. Come on. That's all right, guys. That's all right. Don't y'all give up on me. You hear me? Make the story about David and Goliath come true. David came back. We need to play better than we're playing, guys.
Well, it has become one of the most perplexing issues in hockey. Concussions have altered the lives of far too many athletes.
This is a masticating hit.
Serious headaches for the NHL.
I know that you've worked in the wrestling and the football fields the most. With today's news, hockey is obviously a higher profile.
Unfortunately, I think more people are retiring from hockey than are from the NHL than are from the NFL from concussions. So that's certainly a sign that the concussion issue is very severe.
I started playing professional hockey when I was 18 years old. Physical, hard skating, power forward, create havoc in the corners, create havoc in front of the net, and try and score a dirty goal. In the course of my career, I had a couple 30-goal seasons, a handful of 20-goal seasons. And so I was capable of putting the puck in the net. For me, the beginning of my demise was my second documented concussion in the playoffs in May of 2000, where I was out at center ice.
Primo got leveled, and he did not see that coming.
He caught every part of me, and I was down. I was probably out for a brief period of time, whether it was 10, 15 seconds, taken off the ice on a stretcher, only to return to play 2 nights later. I was of the same mindset to everybody else, that I didn't take the injury seriously. I thought it was a phantom injury, that there were players that weren't necessarily suffering through post-concussion so much as they were looking for a break. Everybody played with bumps and bruises. It wasn't a guy who wasn't playing through some type of injury or pain, and so you needed to find a way to tough it out. And there was nothing you could say or do that was going to change my mind or that mentality. Documented concussion number 3, I took an elbow to the side of the head, and I thought I was fine. I came home, and my wife looked at me and said I didn't look well, and that I should probably not play in 2 days' time. She knew that I wasn't right. That happened on a Thursday night, and Saturday I was driving to the rink by myself, and all of a sudden I got extremely motion sick, couldn't focus, and had to call the trainer and say, I don't feel right. And I turned around and went home. It was 6 full weeks of concussion symptoms that I hadn't experienced before. After that concussion, it was a challenge for me to focus in preparation for games. I knew how fast the game moved, and now I felt as though I was making a conscious effort to move at that speed.
Probably the one player that I've worked with the longest about concussion was Keith Primo. Motion just was a big problem, and he was very slow to recover, and was very frustrated because he wanted to play but realized he couldn't.
Following my 4th documented concussion, I stepped into the head athletic trainer's office, and I said, I think I'll be ready. Another week I'll be set to go, but I need another week. And he kind of sat there and listened to me, and when I was done, he said, Keith, we applaud your courage, and we thank you for your efforts, but I'll never give you permission to play again. And at that point, my career was over. My sense was that of relief. I was relieved.
You know, in hockey, they have to take the stick out of your hands. And I always felt that about myself as a player. I won't just lay it down. I was a physical player. Similar to Keith Primo, we played similar styles. I was lucky in that I had one diagnosed concussion. I'm sure I probably had a few earlier in my career. So when they approached me and asked me to take over this new department of player safety, I felt that I could have a positive impact on the game.
Wednesday night in Chicago, an incident occurred during the game between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings. At 5:26 of the third period, Detroit defenseman Brendan Smith delivered an illegal hit to the head of Chicago forward Ben Smith, causing him to lose consciousness. As the video shows,
The NHL this year, there is a strong push not only to penalize players, but to educate them why they're being penalized and say this is the future of the way we're going to play, and you better come along.
I'll start with the premise that as long as we continue to play hockey, there are going to continue to be head injuries. There are going to continue to be brain injuries. But it doesn't make players want to stop playing, and certainly doesn't want to make fans stop watching the game.
It's a big issue right now, but as a player, usually it's not something we like to talk about. I guess we're superstitious about injuries and stuff like that.
It's our goal to eliminate as many needless injuries as we can and to be very clear and educational when we make those decisions. That's why we do the videos.
I have suspended him for the remainder of the preseason, plus 5 regular season games.
Here at the NHL, I'm the new enforcer.
NHL enforcer Derek Bugard. He died earlier this year from a drug overdose.
Former NHL heavyweight champion Bob Probert, who died recently at the age of 45, he suffered from this.
It showed the 28-year-old suffered from a brain disease, and the damage was more extensive than expected. The results have some calling for changes to the game.
There are leaps to conclusions. For example, if you say that just because this individual was an enforcer and we found tau proteins building up in his brain in an unusual way, which is CTE, that being an enforcer leads to having CTE. And that may have led to depression and suicide. And again, that's connecting the dots in a way that isn't supported by the science right now.
There's always going to be gaps in science, and we cannot take virtually any disease from A to B to C to Z, but we can certainly look at the body of evidence over the last 80 years. You know, if you see that everybody who's ever developed this disease took extraordinary brain trauma, you come to the conclusion that trauma is causing this. We're out of other options. And there's enough evidence to start changing what we do.
Well, as the league has said, that fighting does contribute to causing concussions.
So do you guys make any recommendations, or you just report?
No, our role is not to make recommendations, but rather to report the facts.
The league is coming up on its 100th anniversary. Fighting has always been part of the game. You can't just snap your fingers and say, make it go away.
There's no question that extracurricular activity is a bit of an enhancement for a segment of the crowd. But I'd love to see it out, because I don't think it's part of hockey.
Whoa! Keith Primo jumped McCannon from behind, and Brett Warner didn't like it.
I wasn't a fighter. I fought plenty. I averaged, over the course of my career, a half dozen fights a year. There was always a purpose for my fighting. I was sticking up for teammates, sticking up for myself, trying to change the tempo of the game.
Sometimes I go on YouTube and watch his fights.
Like, is it nice having a dad that was that tough?
Yeah. Protective.
You probably saw a few fights. But yeah, they don't put the goals on YouTube. They're YouTubing the altercations.
Next year the game will get more physical and faster because we're getting older. I'll be 15 next year. I mean, even now, today, our team's like, being that team, like 5-0, they think they have nothing else to do, so they start getting physical. When we went in front of the net, they started pushing and shoving. Part of the game. If I have to get in a fight, I'm gotta build his character, I guess.
Have you been in fights?
Not like drop the gloves, but yeah, I've been in a fight.
And what was that like?
Wasn't that hard. I thought it was pretty fun.
To see Chase get in a fight in a game would disappoint me. Because you can be there for your teammate, you can show your commitment, you can show that courage, all the same time not having to drop your gloves. As a hockey traditionalist, I've held steadfast to the belief that there's a place in the game for fighting. I accepted the inherent risk. I was a willing combatant. With more thought, I really wonder if there is a place for fighting in the game, ultimately. If we're going to protect our players the best we possibly can.
What happens if in a game we have half the guys are competing and half the guys aren't? What's going to happen? We're going to lose. So I got half the guys doing the drill right and half the guys cheating, cutting it off. Do it right. Throw me a puck.
I still suffer through symptoms.
Heads up.
Over the course of the last 2 years, I've been able to say that I'm in a good place only to regress. Headaches and head pressure, extremely fatigued, difficulty with vision, lightheaded, irritable. It was recommended I talk to players who'd gone through the same problems I had, and at first I was hesitant. But then I found some real comfort and solace in hearing their story and knowing that I wasn't losing my mind, that what I was feeling, what I was suffering through was genuine. I know that I've damaged my brain. I don't know where I am 20 years from now. I need to continue to be brave and work towards the end goal, which is 100% recovery.
Come on, don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. There you go.
USA will bend it across, but he lets it go,
I was 17. Youngest player ever to win an Olympic gold medal and a world championship. I was fortunate enough to play in 3 Olympics, winning 2 gold medals and a silver.
Drives it across. Chastain. Parlo doubleheader. Goal, Parlo!
I'm almost 6 feet tall. You can't be this tall and not compete in the air. I scored 50% of my goals with my head.
You hear a lot about football and head injuries, but a new study shows that soccer may come with some risks too. And
Girls soccer players reported concussions more often than boys soccer players. Same as basketball. And they also seem to recover more slowly than boys. So this was not just a boys' football injury.
We told you how rough it is. Watch the tugging, the pushing, the grabbing, the kicking, all the fouls. That was a tough.
From head to toe, it's contact sport.
Rough stuff.
In 2001, I was playing for the Women's United Soccer Association. My poor parents were watching the game on TV at home in Memphis, and they see me. I go up for a header, and actually one of my own teammates hits me in the temple.
Hooper. And 2 players are down. Is that Parlo and Hooper?
I think they hit heads. I don't remember getting hit. I remember watching the ball come to my head, and I was trying to time it correctly. And then the next thing, everyone's standing over me, seeing if I'm okay.
Ball's in the air, they're both trying to head it, no question about it. They absolutely clocked each other. Now both players have got to be shook up with the question.
And so I actually continued to play until halftime.
She's woozy though, you can see it. She's able to smile, but I'll tell you.
I didn't see what the big deal was. A couple of days after, the headache was gone. I didn't have too many symptoms, and I wanted to get back at it. Knowing what I know now, I am so thankful that they sat me out and wouldn't let me play. After my first concussion where I was knocked out, every time I would do heading in practice or a really hard header in the game, I would see stars. So some people consider that concussion, I'm not really sure. But if you count all those, we're talking triple digits.
Wait, so you feel like you had over 100 concussions where you saw stars of some sort?
Oh yeah, at least. I've seen a lot of stars. I remember when I told my parents that I was retiring in 2004 because of my post-concussion syndrome. They were actually angry and disappointed a little bit in me and that I wanted to retire. I think they felt like I was just quitting. I would rather them think that than to really know the truth and what's behind it. They know about my headaches. They know, obviously, about all the medications that I've been on to prevent them. But I don't think they really know how much it interrupts with my daily life. I always keep my GPS on. I'll be driving around roads I know by heart and forget where I am. I had a stutter for a little bit. I'm gonna worry my family now telling you all this. My parents don't need to know all this, right? When you're young, parents try to protect the kids.
Ouch.
And at some point, it's role reversal.
Soccer's been in her life and in our life since she was about 6 months old.
I want to play Division I college soccer. I mean, if I got drafted, that'd be pretty cool. But
unfortunately, because she's such an aggressive player, she has not only gotten 1 concussion, but probably 4.
I remember after the first one, I was just like, oh my God, my head hurts so bad. I went to take a goal kick because I didn't go out. I didn't want to stop playing. So I went to take the kick and I was like seeing double and stuff. So
you just heard her say it hurt really bad. She had double vision. She didn't pull herself out of the game. She didn't tell the coach, and she didn't tell us.
I don't want to quit because of injuries. It's just what I love to do. I can't just drop it.
She's pretty good at being tough. So if it's, I can't tell my mom because then I'm done, she might not tell me, right?
There is a concept of divine providence. Some of us deal with disease, illness, hardship, or heartache. We grieve the loss of those whom we have loved.
When he was born, he came out just screaming. And so much so that he had 2 veins here that were just out. Red hair, and the doctor said, he's a Viking. And that's Owen, a Viking full of passion.
Officials at the University of Pennsylvania say a football player from Lehigh County was found dead in his off-campus apartment. Junior Owen Thomas, who graduated from Parkland High School, was found yesterday.
There was nothing leading up to his suicide as far as I can see. He was an incredible student at an incredible university, one of the best in the world, and he was constantly surrounded by friends. He played defense, and he was an aggressive player, and he was voted captain of our team. And Owen was a person on our team that everyone looked up to, and it hit everyone in our community hard, and still does today.
When I hear about these things, my job is to find a way to get their brain. For me, it was a special case. This was an Ivy League defensive lineman, and I was an Ivy League defensive lineman. It was like losing one of your own.
So I talked to him quite extensively on the phone, and I said, you're not going to find anything because he never had any documented concussion.
Well, that's fine. I said, I hope we don't find it. Frankly, I'd love to not find it in more brains, because it seems like almost every brain we get, we find it.
Owen was an outstanding person, an outstanding athlete. Owen graduated the year before we went to our 2nd state championship. I'm not surprised that Owen wasn't diagnosed with a concussion. He may or may not have taken blows to the head.
The reality is that anybody that's played football has had concussions, whether they've recognized it or not.
Both of us definitely got our bell rung.
You get up and like everything's like a different color at first, and then it takes you like a couple minutes to kind of get back in focus. But I don't know if that's a concussion. I've never had a concussion where I was pulled out of football. I mean, Owen and I were similar in this aspect. If we did have like a head ringer, we would not go report that to the trainer. You know, we'd get up and shake it off and just get back out there and play.
Last year at Parkland School District across all sports, we had 1,600 kids. We had 14 recorded incidents of concussion.
1,600 kids, 14 diagnosed concussions during the entire school year.
Well, that's obviously a very underdiagnosed condition.
If you only have 1 out of every 100 kids getting diagnosed with a concussion, you're missing them, and your kids are at terrible risk. We do this right, and we start educating the athletes, it's going to skyrocket.
This is Owen Thomas's brain. This is a part of the frontal lobe. There are these very dark areas of discoloration in his brain. And when you look at these spots under the microscope, there's just tremendous ringing around those areas of nerve cells containing this tau protein. This is very dramatic disease. And what we know from other brains is that if he had lived longer, the disease gradually would have spread out into the neighboring cortex. Once the fire is started, it just goes on its own without any additional insult.
So when the results came through, I can't say it was a relief, but it was like, oh my gosh, there is the reason right there that Owen would commit suicide. The fact that they found it in the frontal lobe of his brain that controls impulse control, I think it was a very significant factor.
I don't think that we know whether the changes that were in his brain, which were quite, they were definitely abnormal, no question, but whether they explain the ultimate behavior that happened, it's an open question.
The Owen Thomas finding was not significant as it related to the cause of death. He could have died in a car accident, and the significance of the finding would have been exactly the same. Okay? It was important to recognize, holy cow, CTE can actually begin before somebody reaches the National Football League.
And that's the more important point here, is that 21-year-olds shouldn't have this from playing a game.
Hey, Mom, it's Owen. Just wanted to wish you a happy birthday and tell you that I love you. So I'm going to try back later. Hopefully your phone will be turned up. All right, Mom. Love you. Bye.
End of message.
That message is from the day before he killed himself. I used to listen to it like every day, all the time. And I don't listen to it every day, but it's sort of just like carrying him around with me. And it's nice to hear that voice. And I don't know, I think you just hang on to little things. You know, hang on.
My father played at Millersville in the 30s. I played at Virginia, University of Virginia, in the 60s. So it was kind of our family game. And over here is Owen's grave. I don't come often, although I work just a step away. I don't come often because it's still very difficult. The associate pastor did the whole service, and I could just barely make it through the service, so I just sat in the family pew. It was a beautiful service. All of the football team went up to the balcony, and they lined the balcony standing, and it was a sense of camaraderie, a teammate, I guess, standing for their captain. It was very, very moving to have that support.
All right, so first thing is I'm gonna have you take everything metal that you have on your body, your belt, anything you have on your watch, anything like that. Now, have you had an MRI before?
Oh, many.
Okay, excellent. So you know the drill.
I'm one of our guinea pigs for all of our pilot studies. And so I'll get an MRI, a DTI.
Excellent.
You know, me along with some NFL guys and some boxers and whatever, we'll try to figure out what CT looks like in a living person.
All right, going in.
You can only diagnose these types of diseases after someone dies by looking at the brain tissue. But the goal is to be able to diagnose the disease while someone's alive, because only then can we do things like figure out the true risk factors, create treatment protocols, conduct clinical trials of new drugs.
Unfortunately, because CTE is so horrific, and right now there's no cure for it, the media hype about all of this is here and the concern is here. Tragically, the science about it is way down lower on a trajectory. There's a huge gap.
Traumatic brain injuries and concussions are a far more serious issue than any of us realize.
I was invited to speak at a high school to parents and coaches to raise concussion awareness. It was probably the first time in 3 or 4 years that I had somebody actually confront me in public.
You sure scared a lot of people tonight, okay?
It wasn't a parent, it was the head athletic trainer.
Came in here and you talked about all these people their brains are decaying, and didn't show is there's a heck of a lot of people that played football that don't have problems, okay? That don't have this post-concussion syndrome. You didn't talk about the hundreds of thousands, a million people.
No, that's right. I didn't talk about all the people who smoke and don't get lung cancer. I mean, I with all due respect, that's a terrible, terrible argument when it comes down to people's health and their brain and the risks that we should be exposing kids to.
But then it went further, and he said, oh, you talk about all these symptoms. My 10-year-old daughter plays soccer, and she comes off the field and complains of dizziness and headaches after heading the ball. But that's not a concussion. That's just part of playing the game.
If your child has concussion symptoms from heading a soccer ball, that's a concussion. I cannot believe you asked me that question. Are you serious?
Have you ever had a soccer?
I mean, I wouldn't push too far. I'm worried about your job right now. Are you?
It wasn't just the head athletic trainer that had this problem. I was informed that the football coach had scheduled a mandatory weightlifting session to make sure his players couldn't go to the symposium.
And what are you saying?
I don't know.
I'm going to go back to Boston.
You could hear a pin drop in that room.
What happened that night happens privately all over the country, all the time. A lot of people don't want to believe this is as serious as it is. Even people whose jobs it is to safeguard children's health. They don't want to believe it either.
A group of parents followed me out. Some of them asked, my child plays football here, he had a concussion last year, would you let him go back? Hopefully, if you only played through high school, your risk is less, but it's there.
There are people who have said that because 14 out of 15 NFL players who have been tested for CTE have had CTE, my God, that must mean that almost every retired football player has CTE or will get it. Well, no, that's not how it works. It's a very selective sample.
As part of a brain bank, we store half of the brain at -80 in each freezer, and we have 7 freezers.
We've gotten now over 70 brains in the brain bank, and the overwhelming majority have had chronic traumatic encephalopathy. We need 30 brains of people that played the same sport that didn't have the symptoms. Their brain would be very valuable to study. And until we do, we don't really have any good idea of the incidence or prevalence of this CTE.
What we do know is that 14 of the first 15 NFL players that we studied had CTE. In some people, it wasn't so far progressed that they had memory problems or impulse control, but had they lived longer, they almost certainly would have.
That's overstating the data. And it's leading to a conclusion for which we don't have scientific support right now. To say that because this athlete exhibited CTE, that determines that he's going to have dementia and have depression and commit suicide, it's just not there.
You have to walk a very fine line here, because people need to appreciate the fact that CTE could make you go crazy and could make you do terrible things.
And the NFL have called us when families are looking for us to help facilitate.
But then again, when you're talking about this with people who might have it, You have to be clear to them that people with CTE can also live normal lives and be fine. They just might be different.
But one of the reasons I'm here is to ask you to give me your brain someday. Alzheimer's strikes you at the end of your life. When you're 78 is the average onset of Alzheimer's, and CTE is 43. So it's pretty destructive.
We had two-a-days, both morning and afternoon, beating the living crap out of each other. There's many times in practice I came looking through the air hole of my helmet trying to make the team every year, you know? But we were at this thing that we went to a couple weeks ago. Somebody asked...
Satchers, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody, what the heck was I gonna just tell you? I'm gonna have to come back.
Stage 3 right there.
That's 4.
Stage 5. What are you talking about?
What the hell was I just talking about? I did forget.
I played for a lot of really dumb coaches.
Yeah.
There's a lot more dumb coaches out there than there are really smart, innovative coaches.
When I was a senior in high school, they didn't give us water until, you know, you were a wuss if you asked for water. And then 2 kids died in Texas. And then we got water every 5 minutes.
Right, if 5 kids this year died in a week from head injuries, football would change immediately. But you could create 500,000 cases of CT this year, and everyone's okay with it.
All I need for y'all to do is dig down inside right now and give me all you had saved up. You hear me? We got 16 minutes. It ain't over. Yeah, there you go. Hit him, baby. Run, yeah. Run. That's what I'm talking about. Run. That's what I'm talking about. Take that. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go, David, let's go. If you guys continue to play on this level and move on up to the next level, when you get ready to go to high school, it's gonna be some scouts watching y'all, gonna want y'all. So your dreams could be lived out right here.
Watch kids in any sport. They are mimicking what they see.
Yeah.
Some of the violence in the NFL.
No, don't do that.
The celebration of those shots by the players themselves, by the media to some extent, by many fans. It's dangerous enough for elite adult athletes.
Whatever happens on an NFL field is imitated by hundreds of thousands of kids. What happens on Sunday is going to happen on Friday. And when you see Michael Vick receive a concussion, and you see him just go back into the game and be fine, you're going to assume that it's perfectly safe to do this.
In 2011, the NFL changed the policy so that they actually have people now in the booth and on the sideline whose job's only to look for concussion. And that happened because there were some very obvious cases of players being concussed on the field, and yet they weren't treated or assessed properly.
And the problem was the trainer and the physician were occupied with another injured player and not facing the field. So 35 million Americans saw it, but nobody who could action the problem saw it.
And the story afterwards was that nobody saw them get knocked out for 30 seconds on the field. No one saw them wobble off the field after they get hit in the head. The NFL is acknowledging that even with a team of medical people on the sideline, they can't see the obvious concussions on the field. So how are we letting kids play with none of the resources that we feel obligated to provide grown men?
It would be ideal that there's a certified athletic trainer for every high school, but it's not a financial reality right now. And it is true that inner city schools, more often than not, lack a certified athletic trainer. But I think that certain sports at highest risk, it can be argued that if you can't put proper minimum medical facilities on the sideline, that you probably shouldn't play the sport.
Let's go, Wildcats! I love the program. It keeps the kids off the street. You know what I mean? They get out of school 2:30. They're at practice till 8. You can't do nothing but come home and do homework. And that's how I like it.
Football is an alternative to the streets. If our organization didn't get them, then those organizations that we don't want to have them will.
I believe you just have to protect them as much as you can and pray.
One way you can make football safer is to reduce the amount of brain trauma occurring in practice by limiting the amount of full contact practice.
There is a football league that only allows, in practice, 1 day of hitting per week. It's the NFL. And yet you go down to any regular city in America and hear mothers tell you their players do 4 days of full padded practices a week in a game. There's no way that should be happening.
There's a balance there. Can you ever make any physical activity completely safe? Of course not. But what's the level of acceptable risk? And what's the level of reasonable reform?
Collision sports should not be played under the age of 14. Now, I'm not saying do away with the sport. I'm saying change the way it's played. In particular, take hits to the head out of it. I think it's absolutely insane that little kids are bashing heads with football helmets on. Their brains are not myelinated. Their heads are disproportionately big. Their necks are overwhelmingly weaker than they will be later. And trauma that they sustain often seems to last longer before it clears.
I'm not telling anybody whether they should let a kid play football or not. I make decisions with my kid. You make decisions with your kid, as long as they're within the law. Knock yourself out.
My daughter plays field lacrosse, and my boys play organized hockey. They've been around the game a lot. We are a hockey family.
Okay, your mulligan was yesterday. We had taken some time off, we found our legs, and now we got to get back to working.
Three weeks ago, I was skating over there to hit this kid, and he stuck his leg out, and I tripped over his leg and went head first in the boards. Got whiplash and concussion.
You know, this is the second time that he's had a concussion, so we're really taking it slow, and you know, it's been a long process. Of probably 30 days into it now. He wants to get back. He's feeling better, but you know, patience is probably a good thing when you're dealing with concussions, whether they're your players in the National Hockey League or it's your own son.
I've been playing hockey since I've been 2. When I was 5, I started to play in the league. I like the contact. Just seeing a guy go on the ice, like fall on the ice, I just love it. I don't know why. I do it to my brother.
I went back down to get the puck, and I got hit from behind, and I don't remember anything. People said I was on the ice for like 4 or 5 minutes. I don't even remember 20 seconds of it. I don't remember any of it.
I was one of the guys out there getting you up.
I don't remember that.
Chase!
Do you think it's good to know more about concussions, or would you just rather not know?
Not know too much about them. Because if I get one, it kind of scares me. Like, what happens if I have this? But since I don't know, I like it better that way.
So when your dad talks to you about concussions, you'd prefer he doesn't really tell you too much, or?
Yeah.
Does he know that?
No.
Being a pediatrician for many years, I wanted to help my oldest son, Nathan, protect that brain, because that's how he's going to earn his living. He wasn't going to be going off and playing hockey for a living. And so one of his early coaches was Keith Primo, who had just retired from the NHL because of concussions.
Go.
Having Keith as one of Nathan's early coaches really made a big impact on our whole family, to change our lives, but also change my career. And I want you to look at my pen. Does that pen look fairly clear? It's not double or blurry?
It's like doubling.
It is double and blurry. Close your eyes. There is research that does show that children respond differently to concussions. They're not just little adults. All right, that makes you feel wobbly?
Yeah.
Let's see. Still having issues with headaches, still having issues with trouble falling asleep, not being able to concentrate.
It wasn't a big hit at all. I'd been hit much harder before. It was just like 3 consecutive face mask to face mask headbutts. And that was my first round of the playoffs for the hockey season. I played the rest of the game. I didn't think anything of it.
It wasn't one of these hits where I said, oh my God, is he hurt? I didn't even know he was hurt. I didn't even know he was hit.
Then I went to bed and I woke up with a really bad headache. And I took 2 weeks off. It got better after 2 weeks. I got right back into the lacrosse season, which was starting a month later. About halfway through the season, I got another concussion.
Lean forward a little bit to center your weight, and then close your eyes. If somebody has not fully recovered from a concussion and then is subjected to a second concussion, more probably than not, it's going to take a much longer time to get over the symptoms than if they'd suffered those 2 concussions, say, a year apart. He became symptomatic when schoolwork got piled on. Put your tongue out straight. And so it was actually that additional cognitive load of schoolwork that brought back post-concussion symptoms. The aspect of all of this for down the road is whether you go back to contact collision sports. And this is based partly on the fact that your injury did not seem to be a monumental hit, and yet the symptoms have lasted an appreciable period of time.
It was really frustrating because I have my hockey season coming up and it looks really bad for me because I don't think I'll be able to participate. I'm the captain of the team, so I still have to be there for everyone. Teammates, I would say, were very supportive. It was the parents who didn't understand because I couldn't come to the game sometimes because I needed to recover, so they'd say, oh, this kid doesn't care about the team. He doesn't care about how they're doing. He's just going home because he's tired of lacrosse season, but that wasn't the case at all.
I didn't. No, actually. I didn't hear the criticism by parents.
I don't like to gossip, so.
No, he doesn't. I didn't expect getting emotional. Listening to the whole thing.
If I could go back in time and change one thing, I would have taken 2 weeks off of school, not stressed myself at all, just taking the time off, because in the end, it was the schoolwork that set me back.
If their brain has recovered enough that they can do the cognitive work and handle a full day of school, then we can, progress them through a return to play protocol, and it goes fairly smoothly.
The focus of the country right now, and the focus of a lot of the legislation, has been return to play. And that's the story that's really a lot of places being sold as the solution. I mean, I hear it from parents all the time. Even if they get a concussion, as long as they return to play at the right time, they'll be fine.
Come, Trev.
What no one's talking about at any level is the fact that we are clearly not diagnosing concussions, and we are not getting athletes off the field when they do have them. Athletes don't realize how it's in their own best interest to pull themselves out or to report that there might be something wrong.
The athletic trainers here are on the field from the start and beginning of the practice or game. So if we see an incident that is extremely violent, or if the athlete does not seem like themselves, we'll immediately bring the athlete off the field and evaluate them on the sidelines to ensure that they don't return to play if it's something that could make them worse.
We'll never be able to say scientifically what's safe and what's unsafe.
Come with me.
The idea that 100 G blow to your head
Take your helmet off.
causes a concussion, and that's bad for you. But that 99 G blow that you say, oh, I'm fine, that's fine, it's impossible that that's the reality.
We have to define whether there is a cumulative effect of injuries that you can't see. Now people are using the term subconcussive blows.
Subconcussive blows would refer to head hits that don't become apparent to the athlete in any clinical symptomatology. That is, they may have crashed helmets and felt fine.
One of the concerns about subconcussive hits is that you don't just get a pass on them. They're not free.
We need to understand whether or not the number of these hits put that individual at increased risk for CTE.
What if the real damage is done by the dozens, if not hundreds, of seemingly innocuous collisions that a lineman, for example, might endure throughout the course of a game? There's so little understanding, I think, so far on what the long-term implications of that are. And if you think about a young player starting out at 5 or 10 years old, the total number of times his brain has been in a collision is quite a lot. What if suddenly parents don't want their kids to put a football helmet on and run it onto a football field anymore? Where does the sport go?
We can do this here, baby. Man, I want to do the David and Goliath thing.
When my kids get hit in the head, I immediately sub them out. And I check them over, it drives them nuts. They get so angry. I'm fine, Cindy, I'm fine.
Get it, Mare. Don't break your leg.
I've been screamed and yelled at by parents for not playing them when they've gotten a concussion, which is fine by me because I know that I'm doing the right thing. And I've actually had those same parents come back to me and apologize and thank me because I would send them publications on the effects of concussions.
It's scary knowing if I get one more, like what could happen.
Do you think you're gonna get dementia from concussions?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get it early on.
So what kind of mother am I? She heard, or we heard from somebody that you can't have more, once you have 5, you're done. Is there a scientific study about how many are acceptable? 0 is probably acceptable.
Okay.
As a general pediatrician and also specialist in sports medicine, that's a tough question even for me to answer for my own family, as you can see.
The thought in neurology is that really after 3 concussions, an athlete should think about retiring from that sport.
And the severity of those concussions?
I don't think it matters. I think just that you've had a meaningful neurologic event each time is important.
Right now, Nathan has sustained probably 3 official concussions.
People say, well, if you had a concussion, how long would you wait out, till you went back in? And I say 50 years. Seriously, 50 years. That's my brain. If you get hit again, you're going down another notch. Do you like how quickly you can think now, and do you like who you are, and that you can get jokes quickly? What if that went away? For me, that's enough of a risk to just say no. 15% or so of people with a single concussion have persisting cognitive dysfunction, meaning they don't go back to school or to work or just carry on life the way they had it. They have long-term persisting problems after 1 concussion.
Doug Smith, he said 1 is too many. And, I kind of cringe because I do feel like he's probably right, but it's really difficult. I might look back and say I wished I had stopped him after this last one.
So why don't you just say no hockey?
Because he loves to play hockey. We love that he loves playing hockey. And we love watching him play hockey.
We've been talking a little bit about what if you couldn't play soccer? And we don't have an answer to that because she loves it.
I love football. You're bleeding, you're crying, you're sweating with these guys in the locker room, on away trips. It's almost like going through battle. It's almost like they're your war buddies. You'll never be able to take that away from anybody.
When we started our program, it was hard. You had division among children from communities nearby. This kid doesn't like that kid, and if you ask him why, he can't really tell you, other than he lives over there in the row houses. And through football, we've been able to get them together, find a common ground.
When you grow up with football, you love the change of the season, the sense of excitement when you hear the crowd. I admit it, I'm a huge football fan, and it's like, I can't help it, it's just part of me.
There's no question that we romanticize these sports. When I grew up, I had this emotional connection to football. The values that people hold dear can be achieved other ways. I did play basketball, I did play baseball, I did do theater. I learned lessons in all of those things.
I would love for Isaiah Jr. to play football. Football has absolutely given me so much in my life. I just wanted to be under the right circumstances. Right now, I'm having a hard time putting my son on the field with a good conscience.
My son's 4 years old and I have a daughter who's 2.5.
Do you want your son to play football?
Come on. Don't wait on. Run the same thing. Go to the left. Go. To the left, Eddie. Rolling, two-legged. My run. Let's go, y'all. Now or never, baby. David, let's make history. Now or never. Over here. Everything. Take him out. Take him straight out. Go. Yeah, go, baby. Go. Hey, that's game. Wow. We just got tired of it, that's all. That's game, ain't got nothing to hold their heads down. 11 guys. Yes, sir. Y'all on them. Hey, boy, don't do that. Don't do that shit. Come here, right here. Come here. Look. Y'all didn't get this far not knowing how to play. Come on, Chris. Hold your head up and look at what you accomplished this season. And God willing, I see all y'all back here next year. Yeah, that's what y'all want? Let me hear you there. How y'all feel? How you feel?
How good? Real good. How good?
Focus, determination, a willingness to commit and compete for the entire game. It's the reason for playing sports. 3 of my 4 children have all suffered 1 concussion. My daughter asked me the question, Daddy, should we not play if we could get hurt? And I said, well, that's your decision. You don't have to play if you don't want. But there's no guarantee in life. I think that's the right answer. I'm not 100% sure. Some people might think that I'm not concerned about their health or well-being. But I am. But I don't live in fear of them getting hurt playing sport.
Ready to go?
It's the enjoyment I see in their face when they're doing it. And that's enough for me.
Slow pose and cross-eyed, pigeon-toed to the railroad ties, humpbacks and sugar shacks, shotgun wed to the poison of our past. A little longer to go. We've a little longer to go. I just can't help say so. Can't you see me? Spaced and pie-faced. You catch the moon out, just stand here and run in place. Shell shots and half-cocked. The universe is full of black holes and anniversary nights. A little longer to go. We've a little